Who here likes the Rankin Bass animated classic, Frosty the Snowman? Come on, raise your hands. I don't know if you can see, but I'm actually not raising my hand. It's not that I don't like Frosty the Snowman, it's just that I don't particularly love it. It's good, but that's about it. I'd much rather watch something like Rudolph or The Little Drummer Boy, or hey, even Cricket on the Hearth if we're going that direction. So yeah, Frosty the Snowman is alright. I'll watch it, but I just won't go out of my way to. If it's on and there's no other Christmas specials, then okay, sure. But I am definitely in the minority on this one because Frosty the Snowman is one of the most revered holiday classics this side of ever. People adore this thing, and there's merchandise, re-releases, and, well, this. So obviously there would have to be a sequel, right? Well, sure enough there were. Rankin Bass produced a few stop-motion sequels, but that wasn't enough. People needed a 2D animated sequel, and we didn't really get that. We got Frosty Returns instead. A lot of people seem to think that this is actually a sequel to Frosty the Snowman, you know, the Rankin Bass one, but that's not exactly true. It is, but it isn't. Let me explain. This special does technically take place in the same universe that the original special did, but it has nothing to do with it at all. For one, you don't see any of the cast of the original, not the kids, not Santa, not the magician, not even the rabbit. Instead, it's about this dull little town that hates snow, so this creepy old guy comes up with this invention called Summer Wheeze. It's this thing where when you spray snow with it, it automatically melts. So naturally, with Frosty coming to life, that's gonna be a big problem. So how do they fix it? They just kinda be happy, and that's kind of it. Okay? So, before I go further, let me explain my personal history with Frosty Returns. I had the original VHS of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer from Golden Books. And I'm sure all of you who've owned this know full well, they had this advertisement catalog of basically every holiday special that they had to offer. And right after Frosty the Snowman was Frosty Returns. I didn't know there was a sequel. This blew my mind. Back then, I loved the thing to pieces, but what really confused me was that they just glossed over it in about a second.
Frosty the Snowman. Frosty Returns. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Did you see that? Yeah, that was really brief. I mean, I know they skimmed over a lot of them. They're not really going in depth saying, The Little Drummer Boy is this epic tale about a young boy who's lost his parents. And no, they don't do that. But even then, it kind of felt like Frosty Returns was just really brief, you know? Even for this. So I went out of my way to find it, and after years of searching, I think I was in the 4th grade, I finally found it on CBS, and I didn't like it. It just felt weird and off. Something wasn't right. And if you watch the special, yeah, it's really different. The whole vibe of the original is completely gone. It's not kind of down to earth but still light-spirited. This whole thing is basically a Peanuts special. It's slow, it's quiet, it's mellow, except for the songs, but we'll get to those later. What's going on here? What was it, made by the crew who made the Peanut specials or something? Oh, it was! Would you look at that? Bill Melendez, the guy that championed those great Peanut specials, was the guy behind Frosty Returns. Yes, it's true. Rankin Bass, the production company behind the original, had nothing to do with this at all. They basically just gave the thumbs up and walked away. That's why the tone's different, that's why the actors are different, that's why everyone looks different, and by everyone I mean Frosty, and that's why the art style, guess what, is different. So this kind of puts things into a little bit of a different view. I love the Peanut specials, most of them. I don't love these ones, but Frosty Returns just doesn't have that magic. It's not as fun as Peanuts, it's not as funny or poignant, it's just kinda awkward and clunky. Not only that, but it's kinda boring. The best comparison I can make for this is How the Grinch Stole Christmas and Halloween is Grinch Night. How the first one was really high-spirited, but also had a lot of heart to it, while the other one just kinda felt like something they made on a whim so that they could cash in on the original. With the exception of this scene, the whole thing was slow and uninteresting. And Frosty Returns is kinda the same thing. I don't care about any of the characters, I don't think anything's funny. The best I can say are the actors in this, and even then, only 2 of them really stand out. The first one obviously being John Goodman, who surprisingly does a really good Frosty. In fact, this is probably one of my favorite Frosty voices I've ever heard.
How do you all dress for this winter carnival anyway? I mean, I don't want to underdress, but if I could get away with a tank top or something more cash.
He's just got this warm, comforting voice to him, you know? With that being said, though, it's John Goodman. He can basically do no wrong. Like, I even loved him in that Flintstones movie. Yeah, I don't think that thing is that bad. Come at me. And then the other one would be Brian Doyle Murray as the villain. I don't really remember his name because I don't particularly care. And, well, yeah, the only thing that really stands out about him is that his actor does a good job. Even so, it's basically just the Flying Dutchman without all the ooh. And something I don't get about this guy is that his whole point of making Summer wheeze is that he wants to become the king of the town. Okay. That's weird. Is he threatening? No. Is he funny? Also no. So I don't really know how to feel about this guy. Same goes for our main characters, whose names I still can't be bothered to learn. I don't really care about them, I don't really think they're funny, I don't think they're interesting, and to be honest, they're not really needed. All they're here for is that we don't have Frosty as our main character. Obviously, as per Frosty tradition, he has to have a child best friend to help him go on his crazy adventure of the week. And that's all we really get from these guys. And the townspeople are the townspeople, nothing really special about them. And we also have this narrator played by Jonathan Winters. Oh boy, Jonathan Winters. I get it, he's a great actor and he's a funny guy, but dang it, the roles I know him best are the thief from The Butcher, Thief, and the Cobbler, and Papa Smurf from the 2 Smurf live-action films. This guy, wow. Never has a good introduction with me, and yeah, this one is also not necessarily his best role. It's not that he does a bad job. Jonathan Winters never does a bad job. It's always what he's given. Do you really think he can make these really half-hearted anachronistic jokes in The Thief and the Cobbler work? Do you really think he can make this awful dialogue from the Smurfs movies work? No. Nobody could. And he has no real point here. He's just kind of a narrator, kind of this otherworldly force that's supposed to introduce us to the magic. But either way, he's not needed. So I guess he can just take a hike now and go drink that hot cocoa he's always talking about. Let's face it, John, you've earned it. May you rest in peace. You know what this special also reminds me of? Do you guys know what Marvin Baby of the Year is? It's this special based off the Marvin comic strip about a baby who talks. It's basically just Garfield but with a baby instead of a cat. That was made by the same crew and producers that made the Garfield specials like Here Comes Garfield and later Garfield and Friends. And yeah, it has the same kind of thing going with that. When you're watching it, you're constantly reminded of the better thing that crew did, while when you're trying to pay attention to the product itself, you're kind of bored and underwhelmed. And a lot of people seem to agree with me on Frosty Returns. It keeps getting aired on CBS, but no one really gives it the time of day. Nobody wants to. Why would you watch this one when the other is so much better? It has better characters, better animation, surprisingly, and also better songs. Oh yeah, Frosty Returns is a musical, yeah, that's right. I don't remember any of these songs, none of them are really catchy, none of them are memorable, and they all just kinda go right through you. It's like the song equivalent of Burger King, no, don't even bother. But if you really want a Frosty sequel, and you really, really have to have one, don't settle for Frosty Returns. There is a much better Frosty sequel out there that I actually found the very next year after this one. It's called The Legend of Frosty the Snowman. This one is much better than Frosty Returns has ever even tried to be. This one has heart, it has good characters, it has really well done animation for a little known thing. Yeah, check this one out. This is the Frosty sequel that I was hoping for when I first saw Frosty Returns. This is a better follow-up than Frosty Returns ever was. And of course, it doesn't kinda half do the Peanuts thing so that it can remind you of that, but also half do the Frosty thing so it can remind you of that, trying to please both audiences but ending up falling flat with both. Don't worry, none of that here. But as it stands, Frosty Returns is a pseudo-Peanuts special that's kind of up there with the likes of It's Your First Kiss, Charlie Brown, and no one, I repeat, no one wants to be like that. Well, folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? Have you seen Frosty Returns? Have you seen The Legend of Frosty the Snowman? Which one's your favorite, and also, which one's your favorite Rankin Bass special? Comment below and let me know, because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Real quick, I'd like to thank our Patreon executive producers, Reziel, Leaf Razor, Sophie Burgers, Azarius, Tanner Kapishki, and Michael Bellamy. If you too would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, then consider donating to our Patreon, which has a link in the description below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Although, the next time you see me, it's not really going to be a Christmas special. It's going to be our Patreon raffle review, and it's going to be the weirdest one we've had yet in all our years on Media Mementos. Oh boy, it's gonna get wild.